Goliath's Nest. Chapter 6. Classified Fragments. It was midnight. Julius Morgan stood alone in his private study aboard the Omega station. The room was dimly lit, soft amber panels lining one wall, a single terrarium casting gentle green light on the polished mahogany desk. He activated the holoconsole, fingers poised above the glass surface, and summoned the hidden archive, a Unity Office of Deep Space Anomalies file, stamped Level Omega, restricted. The screen flickered, lines of text, data tables, and orbital plots slid into view. Each reference to perturbation event beyond Pluto's orbit came with a footnote, analysis suppressed. Julius's pulse quickened as he scrolled through coordinates that matched his own clandestine recordings. This was proof, hard evidence that Planet X was more than myth. Yet the suppression underscored the stakes. Someone powerful had buried this knowledge. He tapped a private channel. To Dr. Vance, encrypted. I've retrieved the classified anomaly report. Meet me at Lab Gamma in 2 hours. Bring your resonance data. He deactivated the screen, heart hammering. The weight of those redactions burned in his mind. Why hide a discovery so fundamental? As distant station lights danced on the viewport, he realized his quest had just crossed another threshold, into secrets Unity never intended to surface. Years before, Julius had trailed his mentor, Dr. Henri Solberg, into a dusty observatory on Europa's far side. They stood before a battered gravimeter, its sensors ablaze with odd blips. Data doesn't lie, Solberg had said in a low voice. But institutions bury truths that challenge their control. If you ever find evidence strong enough to shift the balance, promise me you won't let it be consigned to hidden folders. His gnarled hand tapped the console. Let light expose it, even if it burns. Julius had nodded, brimming with admiration and a twinge of uneasy doubt about provoking powerful handlers. Solberg vanished weeks later on a solo mission. Now, standing before Unity's buried logs, Julius felt the full weight of that promise. 2 hours later, Dr. Elara Vance greeted him in Lab Gamma, her lab coat illuminated by wavering hollow projections of subspace resonance graphs. You found it, she said, voice taut with urgency. He handed over the drive containing the classified file. Her eyes darted across the orbital coordinates, then to her own sensor logs showing resonance spikes. These match exactly, she breathed. Read here, frequency offsets align with Unity probe echoes. She highlighted a jagged waveform that rippled through multiple channels. A hush fell. Equipment hummed, distant hum of base operations faded. Elara's brow furrowed. If we triggered this by our own defense tests, that's one thing, but if it's natural? Or engineered? The implications are staggering. Julius leaned forward. Unity suppressed the data. Someone wanted this hidden. We must determine why, and fast. Elara nodded, steely. I'll cross-reference every test log, every energy array discharge. We'll map correlations and isolate anomalies. But we need Unity's cooperation on probe data. He placed a hand on her shoulder. I'll arrange it. But for now, keep this tight. If word leaks, we lose control of the narrative. Across the void, Commander Arden sat in Resolute's intelligence center. An encrypted packet pinged on his console, marked from an unknown but trusted Goliath node. He decrypted it, gravitational logs and resonance charts, precisely the data Julius had unlocked. He convened a private council of senior officers. It's authentic, he announced. Unity files were altered to suppress these readings. We face 2 choices: expose the cover-up, risking political uproar, or use this knowledge to forge a discreet joint initiative that preserves stability. A hardliner snapped, we should demand full transparency and sanction Goliath for colluding with rogue elements. A moderate countered, if we burn bridges now, we may never harness this discovery. Lives and habitats depend on caution. Arden weighed their words. We proceed with subtle collaboration. I'll propose a peer-review task force, half Unity, half Goliath, to study these anomalies. Publicly, we maintain protocol. Privately, we share all data. He sent an encrypted endorsement to Julius's channel. Arden, I support a joint task force under mutual oversight. Prepare your list of needed Unity data. I'll back the request at High Council. Elara recalled a darker memory, the day her colleague, Dr. Kavita Singh, nearly died. In Lab Gamma's predecessor facility, they had run an unsanctioned test of a relic-derived resonator. Kavita had championed the experiment, convinced it would yield breakthroughs. Elara had hesitated, but deadlines and corporate pressure overrode caution. When the device pulsed, the subspace field spiked beyond safe limits. Walls trembled, system alarms blared. Kavita's implant interface overloaded, sending her into convulsions. Elara had begged for a shutdown, but only after minutes that felt like hours did the team pull the plug. Kavita survived, but was left with permanent neural scarring. Elara shivered, recalling the aftermath, her vow to never let ambition blind her to risk. Now the resonance spikes had returned, far more intense. She would not allow another tragedy. Late that cycle, Julius and Elara convened the first secret meeting of their joint task force in a shielded conference room aboard Omega. Arden's holographic avatar flickered between them. Julius spoke solemnly, "We stand on the brink of discovery that could redefine our place in the system, or destroy it through hubris." He tapped the classified file icon on the central table. This data belonged to everyone, and yet it was hidden. Today we claim responsibility to uncover the truth, share findings responsibly, and guard against those who would sabotage our mission. Arden inclined his head. "Unity stands with you. We will provide probe data, technical expertise, and full oversight behind the scenes until we discern the path forward." Elara added, "I pledge my lab and my integrity to this work. We'll map every resonance spike, correlate every defense pulse, and ensure no one tampers with the data again." They formed a silent pact, hands hovering above the shared display in unison, touching, yet never fully closing the circle, a recognition of trust yet to be tested. As the room's lights dimmed, the three figures lingered in the glow of the holomap of Planet X and its hidden moons. Somewhere in that darkness lay answers and risks beyond measure. Together, they would dive into the classified fragments and unearth the secrets they contained, forging a fragile alliance against both political intrigue and the mysteries buried in the void. End of Chapter 6. Chapter 7, Councilroom Shadows. Julius Morgan stood behind the polished walnut podium, crisp suit jacket buttoned, voice steady despite the swarm of scrutiny aimed at him. The Unity Science Committee chamber was a cavernous amphitheater of glass and steel, tiered seats filled with representatives from every sphere, military liaisons, planetary governors, budget ministers draped in ceremonial sashes. Holographic charts hovered overhead, showing projected costs, resource allocations, and potential yields for Julius's proposed deep space sensor network, a thin veneer concealing his true aim, far-reaching anomaly detection beyond the Kuiper Belt. A sharp voice cut through the murmurs, Minister Antares Roan, imposing in her tailored robes of the High Council. "Mr. Morgan, your request, 500 million credits over 5 years, is extraordinary, especially when core colonies still await promised maintenance funds. What universal benefits justify diverting those resources?" Julius inhaled, recalling Miranda's voice at dawn, "Measure every word, ambition without prudence crumbles." He squared his shoulders. "Minister Roan, this network will enhance early warning for solar flares, protect quantum communications from deep space interference, and should the data confirm anomalies, open pathways to resources that could uplift every colony simultaneously. It's an investment in systemic resilience and collective prosperity." Roan's lips tightened. "You speak of hypothetical anomalies as if they're guaranteed boons. Yet we require proof, tangible returns before approving such allocations. How do you answer our need for accountability?" He met her glare head-on. "By integrating the sensor network with existing infrastructure on Mars and Callisto, we guarantee dual-use benefits, improving everyday communications while buffering latent data for deep space analysis. If anomalies prove illusory, the system still enhances colony security and economic throughput. It's risk-managed expansion." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some nodded at his logic. Others remained unconvinced. Roan leaned forward. "Very well, Mr. Morgan. The committee will deliberate. But be advised, if your network fails to deliver, those funds will be reallocated immediately." Julius inclined his head. Understood, Minister. Moments later, Julius slipped into a narrow corridor behind the chamber. The airlock hissed shut, granting him a shard of privacy amid the marble halls. There, encased by dim corridor lights, stood Council Aide Merrick Selden, nervous, dark-eyed, fingers curling a data chip in his hand. Mr. Morgan, Selden said, voice low. I thought you should have this. He extended the chip, glancing over his shoulder. Contains raw telemetry from recent deep space trials, unfiltered. Unity's public logs scrubbed the anomalies. I'm in situations you wouldn't believe. They promise to erase my debts if I share this. Julius's pulse quickened. He took the chip, slipping it into his coat pocket. Thank you, Merrick. This reinforces our case. I'll review it and protect your identity. He offered a measured smile. You've done humanity a service. Selden exhaled, relief and fear mingling on his face. Be careful. I overheard chatter about increased surveillance on dissenters. Without waiting, he melted into shadows. Aboard the Unity flagship Resolute, Commander Arden replayed archived feeds from the very hearing Julius had just departed. His screen displayed Julius's measured deflection, but Arden's attention fixed on two moments: the precise phrasing around dual-use infrastructure and the slight hesitation before anomalies prove illusory. To an untrained ear, nothing amiss. To Arden, coded language hinting at deeper objectives. He paused the feed, extracted the audio overlay, and ran a quick semantic analysis. His console flagged terms like uplift and latent data as outliers, phrases common in fringe deep space proposals, not mainstream infrastructure discussions. He jotted notes, possible covert agenda to deploy sensors for Planet X anomaly detection. He leaned back, eyes narrowing. Morgan's not just selling a comm relay, he's mapping uncharted territory. He tagged Merrick Selden's name in his secure database, cross-referencing aid logs for any mentions of raw telemetry leaks. A handful of encrypted comms hinted at someone inside Unity feeding Morgan suppressed data. Arden's jaw set. The evidence of a quiet conspiracy was mounting. He drafted a discreet message to his intelligence liaison: monitor Mr. Morgan's activities, flag any shipments of deep space sensors or unscheduled log files. This may escalate to high-level breach. Unseen by Julius or Arden, Merrick Selden slipped into a narrow maintenance shaft, retrieving a battered datapad tucked behind an access panel. He opened his personal journal, lines of hastily scribbled entries. Entry 47. Morgan's proposal, more than comms. I slipped him the probe data. He smiled, said, humanity's service. Meanwhile, Unity's undercurrent grows. I owe them and I owe him. Whose side am I on? He tapped a final line before deleting it from his active files, backing it up in hidden memory clusters. Loyalty and self-preservation warred in his mind. As the corridor lights flickered overhead, Merrick vanished deeper into the station's guts, a man caught between ideals and survival. Exiting the corridor, Julius sensed a shift in the atmosphere, sudden hush as chamber guards paused mid-step, a distant cumburst cut short. He brushed it aside, yet a prickle crawled across his skin. He pressed a palm to the cool paneling, listening. Had Unity Watchers known the data chip passed hands? Were his private routes under observation? He moved with deliberate calm, but every shadow seemed to watch. As he reached the docking foyer, footsteps echoed, too many for an empty hall. He glanced back. Two figures in standard-issue Unity gray trailed at a distance, faces obscured by low hairlines and the station's glare. Julius's throat tightened. His mind raced. Had Selden's leak been traced? Was Arden's subtle surveillance tightening around him? He slipped into a service elevator, stamping the private override. The doors closed with barely a whisper, leaving the watchers to scan empty space. Inside, his reflection shimmered in the polished metal. He tapped his compad. Miranda. Need to adjust plans, heavy surveillance. We may not be wholly free to follow our own threads. Her calm voice came through. I'm standing by. Be safe. He exhaled, steeling himself. The path forward was no longer just a fight for discovery, it had become a game of shadows. And now, every step risked exposure. Ahead lay the unknown corridors of conspiracy and the true cost of a forbidden proposal. End of Chapter 7.